Hey guys, as you can see by the title, we have some pretty big news about Hobbes. Not that kind of news, but it's still a pretty big one. If you follow me on Instagram, then you probably already know, but Hobbes is a tripod dog now. He only has 3 legs. Since he just had major surgery, we need to keep him confined so that he doesn't accidentally hurt himself. And he also needs a nice padded bed to lay on. Now, he has a big, nice padded bed to lay on that is not in his crate. It doesn't fit in his crate. So when we're in the room with him and we can monitor him, we'll let him lay on that one. Otherwise, we've already caught him trying to jump on our bed, which is not a good idea. So when we're not in the room and we can't monitor him, we keep him in his crate. Thankfully, when he was a puppy, we crate trained him, so he's familiar with this whole thing. And actually, nowadays, we just kind of have his crate out with the door open all the time, and he can come and go as he pleases. He actually treats it as his own little space, his own little room, and he actually prefers to sleep in his crate most nights instead of like on the bed with us, which I always found kind of funny because, I don't know, the bed's comfortable. Well, I would think the bed's more comfortable than a crate, but what do I know? The other day, as I was setting everything up for Hobbes, in anticipation of getting him back from the vet, as I was cleaning out his crate, I held up his crate pad, and I realized just how thin it was. When you hold it up to the light, you can see the light through in like the middle part. Basically, like from him using it and from us washing it and everything like that, it's just worn away a lot in those areas. So this crate pad wouldn't really do it for him anymore, especially during his recovery. So that sealed the deal for me to buy a new one. So I did. Unfortunately, it was not set to get here before we got Hobbes back. So in the meantime, I decided to just sew up a quick little crate pad just to give him some sort of support while he's in his crate, while we waited for his new crate pad to come in. So that's what I'm going to be making today. Really, I wanted to update you guys on Hobbes because you guys all know who he is. I didn't want him to just show up in the video one day with 3 legs and you guys are like, what the heck? What happened to Hobbes? So yeah, that's what I wanted to do for this video. And since this is basically just a glorified huge pillow, I'm not really going to talk you through how I made it. I mean, I could just really easily say I cut fabric to the size of his crate, I sewed the edges and stuffed it, and that's it. So I decided that instead I would tell you guys the story about what happened with Hobbes and how everything went. So let's get started. So just really quick, here you can see I raided my fabric stash to find some pieces that were big enough. He's a big dog, so he has an extra large crate, so it needed to be like 42 inches by like 28 inches, I think. So I had to find pieces big enough, and thankfully I had a couple pieces. And initially I was going to use foam, this extra foam that I have, but I didn't have a piece that was big enough, so I ended up just using stuffing. And I have a lot of stuffing. I bought this huge thing, I think it was like 5 pounds of stuffing, like a couple years ago, I think, and it's kind of nice to just have a bunch of stuffing in the house. So yeah, I just used the stuffing. So anyway, on to the story. So Hobbes has allergies. Every year around springtime, he starts to get itchy skin, and typically his vet gives him a shot, and I do a regimen of medicated baths for a while to get it under control, and that usually works. This year, however, his itching would just not go away. So we were in and out of the vet's office. They were checking his skin to make sure he didn't have any other kind of issues, and every time we went, they confirmed that it was just allergies. So I would just keep giving him his medicated baths, hoping that eventually it would work. Now, the shot that he gets, they're only supposed to get it like, I think every 3 months or every 6 months or something like that. You're not supposed to get it very often. So they couldn't just give him the shot every time I went into the vet. It was like the shot and then baths and then hope that that worked. But anyway, during one of these many medicated baths that I was giving him, I noticed that on his back left hock, he had this weird fluid buildup looking lump on it. For those of you who are not familiar with dog anatomy, the hock area is like akin to our ankle. It's kind of weird, like you have to kind of picture a dog's leg as if they're standing on their tippy toes, because that's basically how it is. So it's like their toes, and then goes up to the hock, and then their knee, and then the rest of their body. Anyway, he had this weird fluid buildup looking lump thing, and it wasn't causing him pain. He wasn't limping or anything. He wasn't trying to like chew at it or anything. It was just kind of there. So I didn't really think anything of it. He has like a spot on his side that the vet determined is just like a fatty deposit. It's just like a lump that's always been there. So I assumed that it was just something innocent like that. Since, like I mentioned, his itching just wouldn't go away. We had another appointment scheduled like the next day after I noticed this lump. So when I took him in, I mentioned the lump to the vet, just kind of like as an aside, being like, he's still itchy, his skin is still bothering him. Oh yeah, there's also a lump on his leg. I don't know if you should check it out. She ended up doing a biopsy. She just poked it with a needle and took some of the tissue in there, or fluid, or whatever the heck it was. And she looked at it under the microscope and determined that it was a mast cell tumor. Now, she didn't want to like confirm the diagnosis. She just let me know that that's what she saw, but she was going to send it off to a pathologist so that they could confirm whether or not it was a mast cell tumor. So I had a couple days of waiting for those results to come back. So I had a lot of time with Dr. Google to sort of learn about what mast cell tumors were. And it's pretty interesting. You see, either my dog had it and they had it surgically removed and now they're great and they've never had one since. Or you see ones where people say, my dog had a mast cell tumor and we got it removed, and the next month more came back and my dog died, you know? So it's like, I mean, I guess that's any Googling doctor story, but I was trying to be optimistic. Since Hobbes wasn't acting like he was in pain or anything, I figured it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I knew that surgery was an option. You could just get it removed. So that's what I was hoping for. Anyway, it came back from the pathologist. They confirmed the diagnosis. It was a mast cell tumor. So that vet, our normal vet, she referred us to a bigger vet in the area that has a dedicated oncology department so that we could come up with a plan of action. So we went there, had an appointment for them to do an ultrasound of his abdomen and chest area to make sure that there were no tumors inside of his body, because apparently that's the thing, that mast cell tumors can grow on their organs, and that is very bad. So they checked that, and then they did a biopsy of his spleen and liver, just to for sure make sure that there are absolutely no cancer cells in there. They also did a biopsy of 2 lymph nodes, one of the lymph nodes that was like closest to the tumor, which is like in the back of his knee, I think, and then one in his groin area. I guess the 2 that are closest to like the tumor. So we waited for that, and it came back that the cancer has not spread. It was only in the tumor on his hock. So that was good news. So all we had to address now was that tumor on his leg. From what I read, like I said earlier, and what the vet told me about mast cell tumors, is that in a case like this where it hasn't spread, you can just cut the tumor out and that might be it. That might be the last time your dog ever gets a mast cell tumor. So you can just cut it out and that should be it. But unfortunately, they have to cut away a lot of tissue to make sure to get all of the cancerous cells. I was told that these tumors are like, I think they describe them like an octopus, kind of like it's the main cancer cluster, and then it has tentacles that kind of go out from it. And if you cut around it and you miss like any of the cancer cells, it's just going to grow right back. So they have to cut like a huge section of tissue to make sure they got everything. Unfortunately for us, it was on his hock, which has like no extra tissue to remove. It's like a tiny bit of muscle and then like his Achilles tendon that runs through there, and then like skin. Those of you who have dogs, you guys know that the hock is like nothing. There's like nothing there. So after much discussion with the oncologist and the surgeon, we decided that the best course of action was to amputate his leg. You know, it was a pretty tough decision. It's hard to see your animal that you lived with for like years have to lose a limb, but there wasn't really any other way for them to remove that tumor, so it's just what we had to do. But thankfully dogs are resilient, so losing a limb like isn't really that big of a deal, kind of. Once we decided that this was what we were gonna do, I started doing a bunch of research on owning a tripod dog, and one thing that I saw a lot was the saying that dogs and cats are born with 3 legs and a spare. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, that's where we're at now. Hobbes had his surgery last week, and he's been here at home recovering ever since. It's funny, obviously when your pet goes through major surgery, you're worried about them, you want them to do well, all that kind of stuff. I was set to pick him up the next day after surgery, so I was concerned about how hard it was going to be for him to get around. But the funny thing is that the nurse brought him out, when I went to pick him up, and he practically ran to me. He had no idea that he only had 3 legs. It was really weird. The poor nurse was trying to stop him from running because he could accidentally hurt himself. But yeah, that just kind of shows how resilient dogs can be with this kind of stuff. So here's the new temporary crate pad pillow thing. It's not the best thing ever, but it's better than what he had in there before, and he only has to use it for a couple days until the new one arrives. I know that this isn't really a DIY video, it's more of an update on Hobbes, but I hope you guys liked it anyway. I know that my upload schedule has been all over the place lately with parenting a toddler and now taking care of Hobbes after having a major surgery like this. So thank you guys for being patient with me. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys sometime. Bye!